Welcome to the Jets UK podcast. I'm your host Andreas Groves, and I'm not joined by any of my co-hosts this week. Scheduling errors get in the way, but we are very excited for the Steelers game, and none so more than with our QB1 back under center. So yeah, on this week's show, I have spoken to our friend Mike from the UK Steelers podcast, and we'll run that as well. But I think just right now, just to touch on Zach Wilson being kind of cleared to start to play, and if with no setbacks, they always have to say something like that. But with no setbacks, he'll be playing on Sunday, which is absolutely fantastic after what we've seen from Joe Flacco. It's good to finally get past him. We thank you for your service. 1 and 2, that great comeback in Cleveland. We won't forget it. But now it's time to move on to Zach and to start the season properly with our guy who is supposed to be the guy who, is supposed to be the guy that this coaching staff and regime selected to be their guy to run their system. So let's see how it works with him. We know there's a lot of talent around this team, and if Zach can put it together, anything close to what he played like at the end of the season, especially the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, we could have a very fun rest of the season. But there's a lot to prove, a lot to prove. But there's really been nothing else in the news. Obviously, we've been waiting on the news from Zach to be confirmed, and that has been now. The injury report isn't looking too bad. Obviously, we know George Fant is out, so I guess that's the other big news is George Fant is out on IR for 4 weeks. So this tackle position is just ridiculous at this point. I mean, I was explaining it to the Steelers guys that you say we would start one guy on the left, then move the other one to the right, and then he gets injured, so then we move that guy back to the left and so on to the right, and then get someone in the left and you put the right. It's been shifting left and right, injuries all over the place, dropping like absolute flies. I had a chance to, funny enough, I had a chance to speak with Nick Mangold through the Jets UK guys, the official Jets UK guys, and I asked him the question about the O-line. He says, look, you can spend as much money as you like at a position, but sometimes the injury bug just hits a room and takes everyone out, and you just can't do anything about that. So we have brought in a couple of tackles, Mike Remners as a free agent, and we also signed Cedric Abui, I think that's pronunciation, from the Texans practice squad. So some tackle bodies, but I think they're not coming in time to save us from Connor McDermott starting against the Steelers, which is dreadful, isn't it? Is full. It fills us with dread that he will be going up against some of the someone as good as Alex Highsmith, the pass rusher for the Steelers. Thank goodness that TJ Watt is not fit for us. I mean, really bad that we're very sad that we lose great players in the NFL, but we that would have been an absolute nightmare if we had to have TJ Watt of all people against Connor McDermott. So Alex Highsmith is still very talented and has stacked up quite a few sacks already this season, so he's going to provide a big challenge, and it's always a big challenge when you've got Connor McDermott there. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how the week develops. Maybe, I don't know if the other guys on the free agent, on the two guys that we brought in can come in, but we will see. We will see as the week goes on. But it's a very exciting opponent. Mitch Trubisky hasn't set the world alight. So it's kind of it's there for the taking. We're going to their building, like we said on the other podcast. It's there for the taking. We've got a good chance to overturn this team. They've got some good players, but they're not a complete team. They've got deficiencies just like us. And if we go there with a good attitude, a good game plan, and some more flexible coaching standards, we should be able to give them a really good game. And if we can get to 2-2, that would be really good. And let's see what we've got with Zach. That should be really fun to see our guy back there with all the ability we know he has, getting it to the guys around him who we've seen a lot of ability already from displays from people like Garrett Wilson. We know what we've got in Elijah. Hopefully Zach sees him more than Joe Flacco, who's almost invisible to Joe Flacco. So hopefully we'll get the ball to Elijah and his season gets kick-started as well. On the defensive side, we want to see obviously a better game from Whitehead. Was absolutely dreadful, but we know he's better than that. I don't know if Joyner is better than what we're seeing, but we just have to put up with that for now. The corners continue playing well. Let's see what the linebackers do, obviously without Quincy Williams now for a while with his injury against the Bengals. Thankfully, it wasn't. We when you put someone in an air cast, it looks terrible. But he seems to have escaped, serious injury. He's going to be out for a little while, but maybe we'll get back. We'll have him back before the end of the season, which was not looking like that when he's carted off with an air cast. So we'll see how the linebackers do in the pass rush. This O-line is, better than expected. They're performing better than expected before the season, but they're still there for the taking. They have to do better. They have to provide more structured pass rush, more complex look for Mitch Trubisky, and make things difficult for him. Because if you make things simple for him, he's got a lot of ability, a lot of weapons around him. We know about Najee Harris, a very good running back. They've got lots of receivers. They've got a very good tight end in Pat Firemouth. So they've got a lot of talent. If you give him the time, he's going to find his weapons and they're going to damage us. So we've got to make sure that we make his life a problem on Sunday. And then we maybe can slow them down and give it a real shot to get that win. But I think we'll wrap up my solo monologue for now. It's a bit of a weird one, me just talking straight to you guys and not speaking with David, Matt, or Craig. But it's very exciting times. And we'll head over to my interview with Mike from the UK Steelers pod. Okay, so I'm joined by Mike from the UK Steelers podcast. Mike, thanks for joining me on the pod.
Not a problem at all. How are things?
Yeah, things are good. Zach Wilson's been, cleared to play for the game, so he makes his season debut on Sunday. So as Jets fans, we're excited about that, to be past Joe Flacco now. He's taking us to 1-2, but very limited offense with him at the helm. So Zach is still not unproven, but he's got more potential. That's the point. So it's exciting, at least. It's exciting. Mm-hmm. How are you doing? How are you feeling about things? It's a bit of a, it's been a bit of a transitional year for you guys. How you felt about the season, kind of the off season, kind of going away from the Ben Roethlisberger era and kind of going into the unknown at this point, or maybe the Kenny Pickett one, but we don't know for now. How has everything been in the off season overall?
It's a massive change. I mean, certainly from my perspective, my fandom of the Steelers has been Ben's career. So I think the time was right given his play from last season. I was quite pleased with taking Pickett in the draft. Yes, I am wearing a Kenny Pickett jersey. I'm just sort of waiting for the call of him to start. I wasn't too upset with the off season. I think we added in areas that we needed. It was a fairly obvious one for us that the O-line needed a massive change. We new guard, new center in. Inside linebacker was an issue for us as well. New inside linebacker, Joe Hayden retired, so we got a cornerback to play alongside Witherspoon. So there was a fair amount of change, but I think we were quite proactive in that. We've even had a change in GM as well, so there's potentially a change in what our approach is going to be going forward. So positive about the off season. The start of the season itself, though, is mixed to whatever sits below mixed. I think we've pulled together decent. It's not great when you can say you've only had decent drives and we're into week 4, but I think that's where we are. Mitch Trubisky is what he is. I'm sure he's a great leader in the locker room and all the rest of it, but he has his limitations, and I think Bears fans can probably attest to that for the last however many years. So I think as Steelers fans, we've sort of come to appreciate now that we had a great run of however many years with Roethlisberger. We're sort of starting from the ground up a little bit, but I think it's probably about time now to throw Pickett in. There's a lot of debate around the schedule, sort of from the Jets game on. It gets quite tough. So do you throw him in the fire now? I think that's still up for debate. Tomlin seems to suggest that he's going to hold fire and continue starting Mitch. But you've only got to watch a game and hear the Kenny Pickett chants from the crowds to know that the fans know what they want.
That is quite promising for a team that the Jets are coming in, obviously needing to bounce back. And if we can rile them up a little bit and at that home, it's at your place. And that can be sometimes a bit of an issue if you've got a bit of instability in the offense, right? Because the fans really get on your case. And being the away team sometimes you can take advantage of a kind of nervous and frustrated home fan base. So that sounds potentially pretty good, but you are going up against a team who haven't shown up in two of the first 3 weeks, and were incredibly lucky in the second week to get a win there. So, I mean, we're both 1 and 2, winning games that maybe we shouldn't have won. We're lucky to win.
Fair.
So it's almost a simple thing. Except you guys have got, we would say, the biggest advantage from everything when we're looking at it is probably the coaching. I mean, Mike Tomlin is one of my favorite coaches. League wide. Incredible what he's done. Obviously, just you guys with your coaches, you just keep them for decades. Like you just don't transition them, and he's another just absolute all timer. So I think you got to kind of see what his opinion is on the QB position and go with it. But yeah, I can understand you guys are excited about Pickett and you want to see him, and especially if things aren't going well. You're like, let's move on. Let's see what we've got in the young kid. But yeah, you want to make sure he's protected and he's in the right time to kind of not be thrown in too early. So it's a delicate balance. It is a delicate balance. So
yeah, no, massively. And in Tomlin's most recent interview after a home game, he said he couldn't hear the chanting in the stadium. I mean, that's just Mike Tomlin in a nutshell. It's borderline what we'd call a Tomlinism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're probably ready. I mean, it's a matchup in this game I'm quite looking forward to seeing, because I think we do have good offensive weapons. Our O-line is playing a lot better than we expected. If any of the guys listen to the UK Steelers podcast, in the off season, it was a massive red flag of ours where, our starting left tackle is a 4th round draft pick from last year. Our right guard was a 3rd rounder from a couple of years before, and we paid. So there was a little bit of worry. Well, is that the right decision? And then bringing 2 guys in off the free agency market. But I think with the weapons that we've got, there are a lot of pieces there. It's just the guy under center is the is the elephant in the room.
Final piece, of course. I mean, that's kind of what we've been dealing with Zach in his rookie year last year. Inconsistencies, and then Joe Flacco now, as how he is in his 37-year-old, now at him being 37 years old, he's limited. So, if he can't get it done, then it doesn't matter all the talent you've got around him. And the Jets have obviously put talent around him, just like the Steelers have put around. They've got some really good offensive weapons as well. But if the QB can't get the ball to them in any fashion, then it's kind of, they're just going to be running routes to air, So, it's just what it is. So, it's going to be an interesting matchup with two teams who kind of need to get things righted. And I think it's quite an even matchup, actually, as I look at it. As much as I wouldn't consider the Steelers and the Jets as equal kind of franchises. It's just where you guys are and where we are, You guys are kind of rebuilding and we're kind of on the ascendancy somewhat, we hope at least. Even with a tough start. So, in terms of obviously, 1 and 2 start, you said that's how you feel. How, in terms of this game, where are you looking at? Where you're looking to try and establish to get improvement, and what areas have you been worried about so far? Kind of what you said the line was a pleasant surprise. They've been better than expected. What areas are a little bit more worrisome for Steelers fans when looking at matchups?
Yeah, the O-line has improved, which is a huge relief. I think from our perspective, one of the big issues we've got is defending the run. It's been a bit of a problem since last year, and we did reinvest. We brought in Larry Ogunjobi up the middle, and it's helped, but we still have the potential to concede big runs. We played the Patriots the week before last, excuse me, and in they were able to close out the game very easy, running the ball up the gut. Now, there's a lot of points to take from that. We had to play 5 quarters against the Bengals the week before, and I think the Bengals had some 90 plus offensive plays, so our D was on the pitch for quite a while. They're going to be tired at the end of it, let's be fair.
Yeah.
So I think generally probably run plays up the middle are going to be a bit of a concern. I did see on the injury report Weatherspoon didn't practice today, which potentially means that we've got one of our outside corners down. I mean, from your perspective, Garrett Wilson looks a bit of a star. I was a massive fan of his anyways coming out of the draft. So, in fairness, I was a massive fan of your draft this year anyway, to be honest with you, but it helps having 3 first round picks.
I mean, that's going to happen, yeah, especially when you get another one right at the beginning of the second in Breece Hall. So, yeah, it's obviously one that's lauded, but they've got to produce, and yeah, it's They have so far. So, but yeah, the Steelers have got a lot of established players that the Jets are hoping to have some of the players like
Mm.
that the Steelers have around the squad. So you're saying Akilla Witherspoon obviously didn't practice, and then you're saying Minka did practice, right? Minka
Hmm.
did practice. He's in the concussion. He's in the concussion protocol. So you never know until he gets fully cleared.
Yeah.
But I mean, him practicing fully is a positive sign for his for him, not for Jets fans, but or the
Yeah.
Jets, but for him and for Steelers, it's a positive sign.
He's a real leader. We've got those three leaders on the defense in TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and Minka. And we very rarely give up draft capital to sign a player in a trade. And to give up a first rounder a couple of years ago, he ran out of the gates with a couple of picks in his first few games. He had a pick in the first two games of this season, so he's really come on leaps and bounds. Not just his play on the field was incredible anyway, but just as a leader. So to have him at full capacity is going to be a massive, massive benefit to us because he's the security blanket. Not just tackling, which he's improved quite a bit in the last few years, but he can create turnovers. And that's good. I think for this game in particular, that's going to be key. I feel it's going to be close. So if there is someone who's able to convert a turnover, that's going to be vital in who wins this game.
All right, so maybe we hopefully he needs to rest up a bit and misses the game on
From your
Sunday.
perspective,
Get
maybe.
get ready for get ready for the next game. Go for the Bills. Get ready for the Bills. And skip our one. That would be good. Yeah, let the Bills deal with Minka, not us. So in terms of the squad, obviously we know Minka very well. As a league wide great player. Is there a
Mm.
player who's maybe lesser known to fans around the league, and especially in this example, Jets fans, that could make a difference on Sunday?
Yeah, I think one star from the Steelers perspective, we've been banging the drum for a couple of years now is Alex Highsmith, the edge rusher, and he's always probably played second fiddle to TJ Watt, understandably.
Yeah.
Tying the sack record last season, Defensive Player of the Year. Whoever is across from him is going to be playing second fiddle. Let's be honest with you. But he's going to come on leaps and bounds. I think he might be on five and a half sacks already for the year. I mean, he had I think 3 against the Bengals in week 1. And with the question marks, you guys are down a few O linemen, if memory serves me right. I mean,
Just a few tackles, yeah. Just
I,
three
I think I think
starters.
I'm on the bench on Sunday. It's depth is that much of a problem. So
Yeah.
if we can utilize his skill set in a potential weakness against a quarterback who is coming back from an injury, who might be a little bit skittish, just a little bit maybe not up to 100%.
Hmm.
I think he could play a big factor on Sunday.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on Alex Highsmith for a while, so yeah. Not looking forward to the position that we're in, facing any edge rushers, and yeah, he's another one that's to look out for. So we'll be definitely diving into him as well. Looking into that from our side as well. In terms of the score prediction, we'll do the score prediction at the end. But in terms of a stat
Okay.
prediction, let's throw out a stat that you want to just throw out there. Maybe interceptions, touchdowns, something like that.
Okay. I'll go with Alex Highsmith and Cam Hayward come out with at least 1 sack each.
1 sack each for Cam Hayward and Alex Highsmith. All right, so we'll note that down. And what would you think the score prediction is for Sunday's game?
Throw me. I'll take 21-17 Pittsburgh.
Right. Okay. Okay.
I
Yeah,
think it will be close.
it's gonna be a close one. I'm there or thereabouts. Yeah. Like I'm also thinking it's gonna be in that kind of around the hovering. Both teams are hovering around the 20 mark. Fairly low score, but not an absolute dud. And pretty close. So I'll see how I feel as I get closer when I make my predictions later in the week. But yeah, I'm not too far off from where you are. But Mike, thanks a lot for jumping on. Is anything you would like to shout out in terms of the podcast? Anything if they want to hear any kind of the recap podcast when the Jets walk into to the formerly known Heinz Field. I even know what the name of it is called. But when they walk in and walk out with a victory, and they can listen to some Steelers fans whinge and moan about the loss to the Jets. Is there you want to shout out the pods for Jets fans?
Definitely not on the back of a Jets win, that's for sure. And Acrisure Stadium is the
That's
name
it.
that rolls off the tongue. It's not great, but it's here to stay,
Oh
isn't
my
it?
goodness.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who wants to listen, it's a weekly podcast we do, the UK Steelers podcast. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Mike_JF1. Yeah, we generally do our weekly review of the game before, catch up the week after, and then towards the end of the podcast, we have a bit of fun and a bit of crack. And so just talk some rubbish between us at the end there. But yeah, give us a listen to the Jets fans who are taking this in, and let's see how the game ends up on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll see. Absolutely. Well, thanks a lot, Mike, for jumping on, and we'll jump back to the main show. Okay, so I'd like to thank Mike for jumping on. A really good chat with him. Yeah, so this game on Sunday, guys. Let's see what happens. Zach's return. Very exciting times. Let's see, how much the steps he's taken. Obviously, what we saw was a very small sample. Probably was not representative of what we want to see from him when we saw him pre-season. So let's see what he has in his first game back. Really exciting times. We'll be back to recap the game on our recap pod next week, of course. If any of you guys are going to the London games over in Tottenham Stadium between the Vikings and the Saints, enjoy the game. I'll be going there. Some of us there. I don't know if we'll be able to meet, but if anybody sees me, awesome to shout out. Obviously, there's the meetup in the Hippodrome, always every Sunday. So shout out to that. Yeah, guys, enjoy the game. If you want another preview in written form, David's work with the Jets Way is there for you guys as well. So he'll be previewing the game in the newsletter, and we'll be back next week to recap the game. So guys, enjoy the game. Let's enjoy our return of QB1, and we'll catch you next week.